Okay, guys, so I'm here today to talk about our chemical reaction notes. So the first thing you're going to want to do is pull up the student notes and make a copy for yourself. So these are your notes to keep, and no one accidentally types in my copy. I'd be a little annoyed. But once you do that, here we go. So chemistry is all about our chemical reactions. But what is a chemical reaction, right? So why don't we start by defining that? So a chemical reaction is the process where the atoms of one or more substance or substances are rearranged to form a different substance or substances. So you take one thing, you mix it up, rearrange it, and when you're done, it's a completely new thing. All right? So chemical reactions are done by breaking bonds and then forming new ones. All right? Reactants are really important for chemical reactions. So reactants basically those are just your starting substances. In simpler terms, the chemicals you start with. Okay? And then our products. If reactants are what we start with, our products is going to be what we end with. So the new substance that is formed, what you end with. Okay? So now I'm going to try to write, bear with me. So when we're writing an equation, our reactants always go on the left hand side of our reaction arrow. Okay? That must mean that our products always go on the right hand side of our reaction arrow. So whenever we write a chemical equation or a chemical reaction, our reactants are always on the left, our products are always on the right. This brings us to our coefficients. So whenever you've seen a chemical reaction, I'm sure there has always been a larger number and then a tiny, tiny number. So our coefficient is the large number. So it's the number that's written in front of the reactant or product. It's not usually, it's always a whole number, okay? And if it's 1, it's not written. So, for example, let's say we have 2 NaCl's. Oops, that's not what I want. Undo. I don't know how to undo. We're just going to pretend that's not there. And we have 3 H2O's. Okay, so this 2 and this 3 are our coefficients. The catalyst is something, and when I say something, it helps speeds up the reaction. So this can be light, heat, electricity, another substance, you name it. It is not directly involved in the reaction, but it speeds it up. Let me fix my typos. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm trying to talk and type, and I don't know. The law of conservation of mass. This is a really important law when we're dealing with chemical reactions, because it states that matter cannot be created or destroyed in a chemical reaction. This means that the reactant's mass always equals the product's mass. So if you start with 2 grams of reactants, you better end with 2 grams of products, or else you're breaking this law. this law doesn't get broken. Okay, so this is, one of those really important laws of science. And then our chemical equation. So this is just a statement that uses our chemical formulas to show the identities of the substances in our chemical reaction. Okay, so there are two different types of equations that we have. We have word equations versus our skeleton equations. So a word equation is an equation that uses words to show the reactants and the products of a chemical reaction. So looking here, we have aluminum and bromine reacting together to form aluminum bromide. So these words are indicating our reactants and our products. Okay? Ignore that example. Our skeleton equation uses formulas. Let me write this. It uses formulas and symbols to indicate what's in our reaction. So down here we have the same reaction going on. We have our aluminum and our bromine reacting to form aluminum bromide. Okay? And last but not least, one of the most important things you will ever learn in chemistry, if you ever intend to do chemistry, even the chemistry we're doing this year, balancing chemical equations. If you cannot balance a chemical equation, you're going to have a hard time doing chemistry. That's the first thing you do whenever you're dealing with a chemical problem. Okay? So here are the steps. There's 6 of them. I've included this nice little flow chart for us. So, step 1, write the skeleton equation. So, for example, I've coming up my brain, guys. I've came up with this reaction. Sodium and chlorine yield sodium chloride. So, we're going to draw the line. When I say draw the line, I mean this line under our reaction arrow. And we're going to list our elements. So we have sodium and chlorine. What we do to one side, we do to the other. Just like math class. We're going to count the number of atoms on our reactant side. Remember, our reactants are on the left-hand side of our arrow. So we have 1 sodium, so I'm going to make a note of that. And we have 2 chlorines. Okay? We're going to do the same thing for the product side. Again, we have 1 sodium, but this time we only have 1 chlorine. So now we need to add coefficients to make the number of atoms equal on both sides. So our sodiums, as of right now, are good. We don't need to do anything. But our chlorine isn't. So if I have 2 atoms on this side, what number can I put in front of my NaCl to get me 2 over here? Remember, we do multiplication for this. So if I put a 2, let me try that again. If I put a 2 in front of my NaCl, so 2 times 1 gets me 2 sodiums now. And since this is a coefficient in front of the whole formula, it goes to my sodium and my chlorine. So 2 times 1 is 2. So now, let's check our atoms again. So now my chlorines are good, but my sodiums are off. So what I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So I need to balance my sodiums now. So if I have 2 over here, what number can I put in front of my Na to make this one a 2? You got it? A 2, because 2 times 1 gets you 2. So let me clean this up a little bit. So now that this is nice and pretty and easy to follow, we can see, let me change this to red, that I got 2 sodiums here and I got 2 sodiums here. 2 chlorines here, and 2 chlorines here. So my numbers down here match, so I am happy. I am good. Can these coefficients be simplified? The answer to that is no. So we're good. This is a balanced chemical equation. Again, you need to be able to do this to be successful in chemistry. This is only our introduction to it, so take your time. This will get easier the more you practice. Trust me. All right, so with that being said, that sums up our notes. So this whole note sheet should be filled out now.